We were discussing about the capacitances which come into effect only during high frequency operation of the MOSFET and not during the low or middle frequency range. So please keep this in mind. These capacitors which we are discussing about, the internal capacitances, they come into effect only for the high frequency operation of the MOSFET. Okay. And since we are going to study about frequency response of a MOSFET amplifier next, we need to know what type of model I should use to replace the MOSFET for its high frequency operation. And as I told you, there are some additional capacitors coming into picture in a MOSFET during its high frequency operation. And one of them is the oxide layer capacitance known as COX. I was telling you about the oxide layer capacitance, COX. This COX will be determined using the relation epsilon ox divided by Tox. Epsilon ox represents the permittivity of the oxide layer and divided by the thickness of the oxide layer. And this epsilon ox can be written as 3.9 times epsilon naught, where epsilon naught represents the permittivity of air, and that is 8.854 into 10 to the power of minus 12. So please remember the relation to find the oxide layer capacitance is 3.9 into 8.854 into 10 power minus 12 divided by the thickness of the oxide layer. This oxide layer capacitance is very, very important in our high frequency capacitive effects coming in a MOSFET, because the oxide layer capacitance contributes majorly to the capacitance values. And this oxide layer capacitance will have different effects. When we consider the gate capacitive effect, the gate capacitive effect will be because of the gate and the channel. I was explaining to you yesterday. So the gate will be like a positively charged plate and the channel will be like a negatively charged plate. And in between this gate polysilicon or metallic layer, we have this dielectric, the silicon dioxide layer, which you can see etched here. So you have a dielectric, this layer. This is the dielectric. It exists in between this metal or polysilicon material, which is connected as the gate terminal externally. And below that oxide layer or dielectric, we will have the channel being formed. And in that channel, we will accumulate negative carriers or electrons to help conduction between the source and the drain regions, right? That's the basic operation of MOSFET. So when this happens, this gate to channel behaves like a parallel plate capacitor and with the oxide layer acting like dielectric in between. And the capacitance which is created is called the gate capacitive effect. As we saw, this gate capacitive effect can be divided into three types, we were telling. One is the gate to source capacitance. So the capacitance which exists between the gate and the source region, capacitance which exists between the gate and the drain region, and the capacitance which exists between the gate and the substrate body. So we can divide this gate layer capacitance or the gate capacitance into three categories, and each of them we will find depending upon the region of operation of the MOSFET. And other than that gate capacitance, we also have reverse biased junctions between the source and the substrate, or source and body we call it as. Substrate is also known as body. So between the source and body and drain and body, we have reverse biased PN junctions, right? Because the substrate will be the most negative voltage in a MOSFET, and the source and drains will be surely at a positive voltage or at a higher voltage than the substrate. Please keep this in mind. In a MOSFET, the substrate or the body is always connected to the most negative potential. So if I connect the N plus source and drain regions to any other voltage, that will always be higher than the P-type body. Hence, we always have reverse bias junctions between the source and the body and drain and the body. So those reverse bias junctions will cause depletion layer capacitances to come into picture, and they constitute two more capacitors which we call as source to body capacitance and drain to body capacitance. And please remember, these come into existence because of the reverse bias in the source and body and drain and body junctions. So remember, the source and drain are N plus regions, whereas the body is a P region. The substrate is made of P-type material, whenever the source and drain will be made of N material. So naturally, body which is at the lowest potential, so the P region is at a lesser potential than the N region. Hence, they are always reverse bias junctions, and there will be transition capacitance in action. In a forward biased junction, you know which type of capacitance will be working. So in forward bias junction, usually you have diffusion capacitance. The capacitance which exists in a forward bias junction is called diffusion capacitance, and these diffusion capacitances are usually much higher than the transition capacitance. Remember that. So the capacitance which exists in a reverse bias junction is known as transition capacitance. Any forward biased PN junction, diffusion capacitance can be there. In reverse bias junction, transition capacitance can be there. Transition capacitance will usually be lesser in magnitude. Okay. So other than that, we spoke about the triode region of operation. In the gate capacitive effect, we saw the MOSFET characteristics here, the output characteristics of the MOSFET. And in that output MOSFET characteristics, the region when the drain source voltage is very small. So in the early end of this x-axis, VDS represents the drain source voltage in the x-axis. Towards the beginning, nearing this zero voltage, we see that the current increases linearly till it reaches some saturation level. So that is the triode region. We have marked the triode region. In triode region, what happens? The channel which is formed between this drain and source, whatever channel is formed between this drain and source junctions, okay, you have the source and drain, the channel which is formed will have a uniform depth. It won't be higher or more deep in one side and less on the other. It's going to have a uniform depth, which means to say the capacitance which is formed between the gate and source and that between the drain and gate will be equal in magnitude. So the gate to source and gate to drain capacitances are both equal in magnitude, and if the unit value of capacitance, if the unit value of oxide layer capacitance is Cox, and this capacitance exists in an area W into L. Remember, we have a length of the channel and a width. So the channel exists in an area which has some length L and a width W. So here you will have the source region, here you will have the drain, and in between we have the channel which exists for a length L and width W. So if 1 unit of capacitance is Cox, what is the total capacitance in this oxide layer? It will be W into L into Cox. So the total capacitance in the oxide layer is W into L into Cox. And since that capacitance will be uniformly distributed at the source and the drain junctions, I can say CGS is equal to CGD, which will be half of the total capacitance WL Cox. Okay. So please remember Cox oxide layer capacitance was defined for a unit area. Now I want for the total area means I'll multiply it with W into L, the total area of existence of the channel. And remember this capacitance is in picture because of the gate electrode and the channel acting like a parallel plate capacitor with the dielectric oxide layer in between. Okay. So the complete area of the channel region should be taken into effect. And you get the total value of capacitance, which you divide between the two parts. And then we said when the MOSFET operates in saturation region, what happens? The channel gets pinched off. That means the channel depth is higher near the source, whereas as we move towards the drain, the channel width is going to become almost zero. So what happens? Naturally, the capacitance at the drain end, CGD, becomes zero, whereas the capacitance from gate to source will be higher. And as a general rule, we will assume this gate to source capacitance to be 2/3 of the total oxide layer capacitance WL into Cox. Okay. So total capacitance between gate and source. Remember, there is some capacitance here also at this point. We are not considering that. We are interested in the gate to source capacitance, which will be approximately 2/3 of the total capacitance. Okay, which happens between the gate and oxide layer. And at the drain end, because the channel is not at all existent, I don't have the negative plate of the capacitor. The positive plate is the gate, whereas the negative plate is the channel. That channel is completely missing near the drain. That's why the capacitance is zero between the gate and the drain whenever the MOSFET is operating in saturation region. Please remember that. And this is the region where we use a MOSFET as an amplifier. Okay. So we discussed this. And later on, when the MOSFET is cut off, that means both the capacitors will be zero because the channel is completely absent. Remember, when the MOSFET is cut off, there is no channel existing. If there is no channel, then capacitor cannot be formed because the negative plate is absent. The channel acts like the negative plate because the channel collects electrons in response to the positive voltage being present at the gate. So gate will be positive plate and channel would be negative plate in a capacitor. If channel is absent, which happens in cutoff region, in cutoff no channel is formed in a MOSFET. So no capacitors. The gate to source as well as gate to drain capacitors are both zero. Okay. But other than this gate capacitance, we have a small overlap, as I was showing you, a small overlap between this gate polysilicon plate, metal or polysilicon, either one, and the source region and the drain region. There is a small overlap in this, and that length of overlap will cause another different capacitance known as the overlap capacitance, COV. The overlap capacitance is defined as, again, it's all oxide layer capacitance and this is defined per unit area. Now, what is the area of overlap? The overlap happens for a length LOV. We assume the length of overlap between the gate and source and gate and drain together are LOV, or the length of overlap. That into the width of the channel will define the overlap capacitance COV. Okay. So this is another capacitance which comes into picture But this is usually small because that overlap length is also very, very small. And other than this, we said the source to body and drain to body terminal body are reverse biased PN junction. Remember, if the source is an N plus layer, the body is P. Again, if the drain is N plus, the body is P. So because of this, we will always have a depletion layer surrounding the source and surrounding the drain. So between the source and the substrate, we have a depletion layer. Between drain and substrate, we have the depletion layer. And this causes the depletion capacitance or the transition capacitance to come into picture. One is between the source and the substrate or source and body. It is defined with this equation. So you just have to remember, we don't derive. Here SB0 represents the value of the capacitance when there is no bias between the source and the body. So between source and body, if we have not connected any bias voltage, DC voltage, then whatever is the capacitance which exists, that is called CSB0. That divided by root of 1 plus VSB by V0. VSB will be the magnitude of the reverse bias voltage which we apply between the source and the body terminals. And V0 is the junction built-in voltage which will normally range between 0.6 to 0.8 volts. Remember, for silicon, it's around 0.7 volts. So that built-in voltage of a PN junction we are referring as V0. And same thing for the drain to body layer transition capacitance, CDB0, which represents the capacitance when the drain and body do not have any bias voltage. So when there is zero bias voltage between the drain and the body terminals, the capacitance is CDB0 divided by root of 1 plus VDB. VDB stands for the voltage, reverse bias voltage which exists between the drain to body, and V0 is the junction built-in voltage 0.6 to 0.8 volts. So you have to remember all these relations. We were trying to solve a problem yesterday. I hope all of you have noted down. Did you find any difficulty here? It's a simple direct substitution problem. You see, an N-channel MOSFET has oxide layer thickness 10 nanometers, length of the channel 1 micrometer. Look at the units, nano, micro. Okay, that's how it is normally. Width of the channel 10 micrometers, the overlap length 0.05 micrometers, and the CSB0 and CDB0. So the capacitance between source and body and drain and body, when there is no bias voltage between them, is 10 femtofarad. How much is 1 femto? Yes? How much is 1 femto? Speak up. You have forgotten.
10 raised to minus 15.
Yes, 10 raised to minus 15 farad. Femtofarad means 10 raised to minus 15 farad. Please remember that. This is 10 femtofarad. That is the value of the capacitors between the source and body terminals and drain and body when there is no bias voltage applied between the two. And V0, which is predefined junction voltage, is 0.6 volts. Source to body bias voltage which is applied is 1 volt. And the drain to source voltage, yeah, there's a small trick here. Instead of giving drain to body voltage, he has given drain to source voltage. VDS is given 2 volts. So when you apply it in the equation, you have to calculate VDB. We are interested in voltage VDB and not VDS. So you're supposed to calculate all the capacitances. Do it. We know what and all is given, it's listed. First, the oxide layer capacitance has to be calculated as 3.9 epsilon naught by oxide layer thickness. This 3.9 into 8.854 into 10 power minus 12, which is permittivity of air, divided by the oxide layer thickness is 10 nanometers. You can see you will get this value. Okay. And then the overlap capacitance which exists, we are trying to calculate. Again, we use the relation W, length of the overlap, LOV, into oxide layer capacitance. So that turns out to be W is 10 micrometer, overlap length is 0.05 micrometer, and oxide layer thickness, oxide layer capacitance per unit area. You see here, it is per meter square. So this capacitance is per unit area or per meter square. When I multiply it with W into L, then I'll get the complete value of capacitance in the total area. So total area of the channel, whatever is the capacitance, that is obtained. In this case, the total overlap capacitance is obtained. Okay. And when we substitute, you're getting the answer. You can cross verify, or for now you just write down, you can verify later. Then CGS, gate to source capacitance. He is asking us to compute the values when the transistor operates in saturation. So during saturation, remember, there will be two capacitances coming into existence. One is because of the gate, and that is CGS. Remember, CGD is 0 here. The gate to drain capacitance will be 0 during saturation region. Yes or no? Because the channel is pinched off. We saw that channel is pinched off here. So CGD is 0 and CGS is 2 by 3 WL Cox. That exists and the overlap capacitance will exist. So we have sum of 2 by 3 WL Cox plus WLOV Cox, which we have already found. When we do that, we'll get the total capacitance which comes into picture between the gate and source junctions, terminals. So we have determined Cox, COV, CGS, next CGD, CSB. So gate to drain capacitance. Here in the gate to drain, we have only the capacitance value due to overlap. The other capacitance due to the gate and drain junction is cancelled because of pinch off at the drain. In saturation region, there is a pinch off happening at the drain. So you have only the overlap capacitance, which is already known. List only that. Otherwise, like in the previous case, you would have, if I had to compute in the triode region, then CGS would be half WL Cox plus WLOV Cox. And CGD would also be half WL Cox plus WLOV Cox. But here, because CGD due to the gate capacitance is 0 because of pinch off, only overlap capacitance is existing. And coming to this source to body capacitance, we know it is defined as CSB0 divided by root of 1 plus VSB by V0. This is given as 10 femtofarad. The source to body voltage was given as 1 volt. You see VSB was given as 1 volt and V0 0.6. When you compute this, you will get around 6.1 femtofarad. And the drain to body capacitance is CDB0 divided by root of 1 plus VDB by V0. Here, the only thing which you have to do extra is calculate VDB. I told a small trick here. VDS is given instead of VDB. How can I calculate VDB? Can I say it is VDS plus VSB? See, the voltage between drain and source is given. And I already know the voltage between source and body. So if I combine both, I'll be getting the voltage between the drain and body. As simple as that. Voltage from drain to source. Okay, this voltage which appears from drain to source is given here. Drain to source voltage is 2 volts. And from source to body, the voltage is from here to here, it is 1 volt. So what will be the combined voltage between the drain and body? It will be drain to source plus source to body, 2 plus 1, which will be 3 volts. As simple as that. So the total voltage between the drain to body terminal is 3 volts. And V0 is 0.6. So you will get 4.08 femtofarad. So this is a direct substitution problem. Any doubts with these capacitances and the problem? Okay, if you don't have any doubts, we'll proceed with the high frequency model of the MOSFET. So using all these additional capacitances which come into effect at high frequencies, we have to come up with a new small signal model of the MOSFET at high frequencies. Whatever model we had before, that is applicable only at low and middle frequencies, but not at high frequencies. Please remember that. And in high frequencies, we saw so many additional capacitors coming into effect. So based on that, let's draw the exact high frequency model. So we have just considered what and all happens. See, between the gate and source, there is a capacitance CGS. Yes or no? This is the gate terminal. This is the source terminal. And this is the drain. So between gate and source, there is a high frequency capacitor CGS coming into picture. Between gate and drain, there is a capacitance CGD coming into effect. We have included that. And then we have, how do I model the value of current between drain and source? The current between drain and source will have two components now. One component is because of the gate source voltage which is appeared here. So we always apply an input voltage between the gate and source terminals, that is VGS. Because of that voltage, like even in our last model which we had written, we had shown how a voltage source of magnitude Gm into VGS, a dependent voltage source, will be included between the drain and source terminals to account for the drain current which comes into effect. Okay, so there is a drain current which is coming into effect, and that can be modeled using a dependent voltage source. And what does that current value, a dependent current source, what does that current value depend upon? It depends upon the input voltage, gate to source voltage VGS. This we had it in our previous model also. Even now we should have, because it should account for the output or drain current. But there is another additional source which I have to include in this model. That is because of the what? If there is a voltage between the source and the substrate. So if both the source and substrate are not common, and you have the substrate at the most negative voltage and the source at a little higher voltage than the substrate, Because of that reverse bias, there will be another minority current which is going to flow between the source and what? So between a minority component gets added to the drain current, which will be in the same direction as the original drain current. This is your original drain current, GMVGS, and the minority current which gets added because of the reverse bias between the source and substrate junctions will be constituted with another additional current source that is defined as GMB into VBS. Here GMB represents the transconductance, GMB into VBS. This represents the transconductance what? Due to reverse bias between source and body terminals. The source and body terminals, because of that, there is a transconductance effect which causes some current. See, please remember this represents the minority current. And VBS stands for the voltage applied between the body and the source terminals. So if the source is not shorted to the body, what is the voltage which is present? That is VBS. And this product, which represents the minority current, should be written in the model because it adds to the majority current. GM into VGS represents the majority drain current, majority value of drain current, and this GM into VBS represents the minority value of drain current, and both add up. So we have written both current sources. Remember, how do I add current values? If they are connected in parallel, you get the sum of two currents only when they are connected in parallel and they are in the same direction. So these two currents will add up to give me a total drain current or drain to source current. And as usual, we have the output resistance R0 in parallel with this current source. So for both the current sources, we use the single resistance R0. Okay. So these are the major elements. Along with these, here we have included only the gate capacitive effect. Along with this, we have to include the transition capacitance due to the reverse biased drain to body junction, CDB, and the transition capacitance due to reverse bias source and body junction, CSB. Okay, so we have both these capacitance, one between the drain and body, the second one between the source and body. So we have considered all the capacitors, all the major capacitances which come into picture. Here we have neglected only this CGB. The gate to body capacitance has been neglected because it is very, very small, almost non-existent. So among all the capacitances which we said comes into picture, all capacitances have been considered in this model. And the additional minority current has also been accounted for because of this current source. The second dependent current source in parallel with the first one. Only thing is CGB, gate to body capacitance, which was very, very small, is neglected. Now, this is the exact model. This is called the exact high frequency MOSFET model. But usually we never use this exact model in our analysis, because for most of the operations which we consider, some of these capacitors will not be large enough. And the other reason is the source and body terminal will be shorted in most of the discrete operations which we consider. So usually what happens, please remember, we don't consider 4 terminals for the MOSFET. Though there are 4 terminals, we simply short the source to the body and we consider both together as one. So when you don't supply any voltage between the body and the source, naturally many things here will become zero. We'll try to see which are those things which can be eliminated when the source gets shorted to the substrate. See here, this is the original model on the left hand side. And when the source is connected to the substrate or the body, what happens? Naturally, this VBS becomes zero. Yes or no? GMB into VBS, the voltage between the body and substrate is zero. So what will happen to this current source? This current value will be zero. How do I represent a zero current source? A zero current source is represented by an open circuit. Only when you open that, the value of current turns out to be zero. Yes or no? So the voltage between base and the voltage between the body and source, VBS is body and source. Body and substrate mean one and the same, is zero whenever we short the source to the body terminal. If that is zero, there won't be any minority current, and hence this minority current source can be opened. I need not write it in the circuit. First change. The next change would be this capacitance. When source and body terminals are the same, there is no chance that there will be a reverse bias between the source and the body. Since both are one and the same terminal and they are shorted, there won't be any reverse bias and no capacitance between the source and body. So this capacitance should be eliminated. It is removed. You see, the source is alone existent. This source and body are the same terminal. Both are shorted. Okay. Now we eliminated the two elements here, and the rest of the circuit we have written. And as you can observe, there is one capacitance between the drain and the body here. You observe in the problem, this capacitance turned out to be just around 4 femtofarad. Very, very small. So the value of this capacitance is very small. If we neglect the effect due to such a small capacitance, the equivalent circuit what you get is known as the high frequency MOSFET model. So the high frequency equivalent model for a MOSFET has two capacitors coming between the gate and source junctions and the gate and drain junctions, other than our usual model. Do you remember our low frequency MOSFET model? What was the low frequency? This is your high frequency equivalent model for MOSFET. The final high frequency equivalent model looks like this. The exact model looks like this, but this will be the model when what? When source and body terminal are shorted. If the source and substrate are shorted, this would represent the high frequency equivalent model of the MOSFET, which is true in most of the applications. For most of the applications, we will consider the source and body terminal to be shorted. Okay. So what is the difference between the low frequency model and this model? Only these two additional capacitances, CGS and CGD. This was not existing. We had open circuit between gate and drain, open circuit between gate and source in our low frequency model. But in high frequency model, these two capacitors come into picture. We call them as device capacitances. Okay. And we have neglected that CDB, the drain to body capacitance. I hope you understood till here. So you have to derive the high frequency model means you have to talk about what are the different internal capacitances in a MOSFET, why they come into picture, how the gate and channel act like a parallel plate capacitor and how it causes an oxide layer capacitance, and how that can be divided into three types. And in the three types, the major two capacitors are gate to source and gate to drain. And what happens in the uh, triode region for to those capacitance, what happens in the saturation region. Then the reverse bias applied between the source and body and the drain and body junctions causes a transition capacitive effect, which will cause two more additional capacitances, CSB and CDB. All this constitutes the original, the exact model, high frequency model of MOSFET as shown. And due to minority carrier flow in the reverse biased source to body junction, we have to include an additional current source. All this exists as the high frequency model. The left side, what I have shown is the high frequency model. But if source and body terminal are shorted in some applications, easily it will reduce to this model, what I have written in the bottom. Two additional capacitances when compared to the low frequency model. Next, we have something known as the MOSFET unit gain frequency, also denoted as FT. This is a very, very important factor. It is called the figure of merit of a MOSFET circuit. And this figure of merit for high frequency operation of MOSFET is known by unity gain frequency. It's also called as the transition frequency. That's why it has the subscript T. FT stands for transition frequency, or it is called unity gain frequency. As the name indicates, I think you can guess, it should represent the frequency at which the gain of the MOSFET becomes 1. Yes or no? Unity gain frequency means the particular frequency at which the gain of the MOSFET becomes 1. And which gain am I considering? I am considering the current gain of the MOSFET. So if I plot, say if I have the characteristics of current gain versus frequency, you see the current gain varies like this. The point at which this current gain becomes 1. Let me say this value is 1 in decibels. Okay. I mean 1 actual value. So if I write it in decibels, it will represent 0 dB. The actual current gain value is unity or 1. And when I try to represent it as 20 log 1, remember all the gains are plotted as 20 log of the value. How much is 20 log of 1? It will be 0 decibels. Okay. In decibel scale, the current gain becomes 0. In normal scale, the current gain becomes 1 or unity. That particular frequency at which this happens is called the unity gain frequency or the transition frequency. Hope you understood. It is a measure of the figure of merit of the MOSFET, which is a very useful factor. So usually the manufacturers will specify this unity gain frequency for a given MOSFET. So for a given part number MOSFET, say IRF 540 or 2222, whichever MOSFET you're using. In the lab also you do, right? Which MOSFET are you choosing in the lab? Have you done the MOS amplifier in the lab? Have you done the MOS amplifier or not? Common source MOSFET amplifier. If you have done, which part number do you use for the MOSFET? Do you use IRF 540 or 2222?
I'm too.
Okay, some problem with
Ma'am,
the.
for MOSFET IRF 540, ma'am.
Okay.
For BGT 222.
Oh, okay, okay. So MOSFET you have used IRF 540 only. In that case, the unity gain frequency of the MOSFET you can check. This FT, it may be around, you check maybe 5 megahertz or something. Just check once. This gives us a figure of merit for the MOSFET. Okay, it's called the figure of merit. It is the frequency at which the short circuit current gain of the common source configuration becomes unity. So we are talking about MOSFET in common source configuration, and we call it as, always we call the current gains as short circuit current gain, because whenever we find the current gain, we always short the output side. RL is removed and it is shorted. Whenever we find the voltage gain, remember we used to make RL infinity. We used to find open circuit voltage gain, AVO. This is found when RL was infinity, whereas the current gain is short circuit current gain. It is found when RL is 0, shorted. Can you see in this circuit? We have simply written a circuit where we have replaced the MOSFET with its high frequency equivalent model, and we have shorted the source and body terminals to a common terminal. So the source and body is shorted. Usually that is the case. So in that case, between the gate and source, I'll have the capacitance CGS, across which the gate source voltage is applied, and the input source is a current source of value II. I'm using an input current source because I'm interested in finding the current gain. Okay. Instead of voltage source, we considered a current source, ideal current source. We have not written any parallel resistance. Remember, if you consider a practical current source, there would have been some resistance here in parallel with that current source. And between gate and drain, we have the capacitor CGD, and drain and source, we have the dependent current source GMVGS in parallel with R0. And here where I should have had a load resistance, I have shorted it, and we have called the current flowing in this short circuit as the output current I0. The short circuit output current divided by input current gives me the current gain, or the short circuit current gain. So actually this derivation is not there for you, but I've just written in brief. It's a simple derivation. Here, how do I find the value of I0? If I want to find the value of the current coming here, I know the current going here is GMVGS, and the current coming in this direction through this capacitor. So if I consider this GMVGS as the main current, then the current coming through this capacitor is always, it's given as SC into V. Remember the value of, what is the value of a current through a capacitor? What's the equation for current through capacitance? Okay, how do you define a capacitance? Can we define in terms of charge by voltage? The amount of charge accumulated on the plates of a capacitor divided by the voltage. Charge can be written as the current into the time duration for which it is flowing divided by V, or if I want to find the value of I, it is usually C into V. So C into V will give you the value of I divided by that time T. This time T can be considered in different ways. So the current through a capacitor is usually C into V. And since I have to consider the aspect of, in terms of the S parameter, remember SC is the impedance. So if the impedance across the capacitor GD is, what is the impedance here or reactance? It is 1 by S CGD. Yes or no? This is the reactance across the capacitor. So what will be the value of current flowing in this capacitor? The value of the current flowing through the capacitor CGD will be voltage across the capacitor, which is given as VGS, divided by the reactance of the capacitor, which is X. Hence, if I am interested in finding what is the current flowing in this branch, I'll just substitute the voltage here is VGS. So the voltage here is VGS. Okay. And the value of the current would be VGS divided by the value of the capacitance, which we will obtain. So if I consider the reactance, it will be 1 by SCGD, and that when I take it to the numerator, I'll get SCGD into VGS. And we have considered this value because you see this CGD is considered very small at frequencies of interest. So the total current I0 will be just left as GM VGS. Anyway, I think since it's not there, I'll skip to this through this derivation. All I want you to understand is try to remember, if possible, try to remember this expression, which is the unity gain frequency Ft, which depends on the transconductance factor Gm divided by 2 pi into CGS plus CGD. So we have two additional capacitances which come into picture in the high frequency model of the MOSFET. Okay. So here we have clearly shown how to express VGS, which can be expressed as current II divided by S into CGS plus CGD, two capacitor effects. So VGS will be given by this, and using that we get this expression. Anyway, though it is simple, so what I want you to remember is just this expression. The unity gain frequency is defined as Gm divided by 2 pi into CGS plus CGD, and with this, we complete what is needed for the internals. And the second part of the syllabus in module 2. The third part is frequency response of a common source amplifier, for which we have to consider the low frequency response, middle frequency response, and high frequency response separately. So we'll do that in the next class. Here we have a summary of all the equations which you have to remember. Remember Gm, the transconductance, is found as, I have so many relations to find Gm. Mu n Cox W by L ratio into the magnitude of the overdrive voltage VOV. VOV is nothing but, remember, VGS minus VT. And mu n is the what? Mobility of electrons. The electron mobility mu n, it is a constant. Cox is the oxide layer capacitance. W by L ratio is also known as the aspect ratio or width to length ratio. The same thing can be written as a root of 2 mu n Cox W by L into ID. So we know ID is given as what? Half Kn dash or whatever you consider. If I say Kn dash, this is Kn W by L. And what is Kn? Kn is mu n into Cox. All these things you should remember. this into VGS minus VT the whole square. This is the expression for drain current ID. If you know ID and you're supposed to find GM, how do you find it? You can use this relation. Or in very simple terms, it is 2ID by VOV. So there are three different ways in which I can write and find the value of GM depending upon what is specified. So if VOV, this Kn dash mu n C ox into W by L is known, I can use this first relation. If ID is known, I can use the second relation. If ID and VOV are both known, I can use the third relation. And the second transconductance factor, because of the voltage between the source and body terminal, GMB is defined as mu into GM, and this factor mu is a constant which will be in the range 0.1 to 0.2. Finally, R0, all these are same relations, VA by ID, channel length modulation voltage. CGS is 2/3 WL Cox plus WLOV Cox in the saturation region. All what we are writing is in the saturation region. CGD will be WLOV Cox. This is the exact high frequency model of a MOSFET, and the remaining expressions, capacitance between the source and body, drain and body, and finally this last expression which you have to remember, the unity gain frequency. Okay, so with this you can just note down this problem to find unity gain frequency as you drop in your USNs. All this you should study of an N-channel MOSFET. He is telling us to assume the operation drain current as 100 microamp. So I should use this formula for GM, Kn dash W by L into 2ID, because he has given this Kn dash directly. This Kn dash is mu n C ox W by L. This whole thing put together is Kn dash. Okay. So if they don't specify these values separately and if they give Kn dash, you can W by L is given separately.